All right, if there is one take that I am the most passionate about going into the season, it is this. And you guys saw the title of the video. The Denver Nuggets are going to be the best team in the West. And on top of that, they are going to be the NBA champion, right? If there is one prediction I am willing to make, it is that one. I am carrying that take throughout the entirety of the year. You guys can come back to me by the end of the season and clown me if I'm wrong. And now, obviously, that's barring injuries. Nobody can account for or predict anything when it comes to injuries. Somebody could end up having a season-ending injury that none of us knew about beforehand. So I'm barring injuries from that prediction. But I'm very confident in what the Nuggets have built this offseason and what they have on paper. I think they're going to be the team in the Western Conference this season. Now, let's take a step back here and build a little context to the Nuggets situation and also the situation right now in the league as a whole. Since 2019, right? No team was able to repeat their championship success. We have had a new NBA champion every single year since 2019. Now, I think that is a good thing in contrast to what we were dealing with the Warriors when they had Kevin Durant, where we pretty much expected them to win a championship every year. That is a massive contrast, and I like it a lot more than what we were dealing with the Durant situation. But still, you do wonder who is going to be that next NBA dynasty. And I felt like out of all of the teams that won since 2019, I was the most confident in Denver being that team to create a dynasty. And that was for a number of reasons. For one, I thought they had a playing style that was built for long-term success, right? The ball movement, the passing, all of that stuff was very reminiscent of the Spurs in the entire Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili era. On top of that, they also had the best player in the world, who in my opinion is still the best player in the world, in Nikola Jokic. So those were the reasons as to why I thought the Nuggets were going to become the next NBA dynasty. But unfortunately, they were unable to repeat that success. They had some roster hits over the years and have not been able to get past the second round of the Western Conference playoffs. But what they have this year is extremely promising, and they did address their biggest issue in the offseason, which was depth. We all saw the on and off numbers for Jokic last year. They were not good. When he was on the court, the offense thrived, and when he was off the court, there were some massive issues. They got deeper, and on top of that, I think their depth makes a lot more sense from a basketball perspective relative to last year. I'll start here with Russell Westbrook, right? And I'm not trying to disrespect Russ. He's one of my favorite players ever. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think the down years of Russell Westbrook overshadow the great things he did during his prime. But Russell Westbrook was not a great fit for Denver. Now, did he have great moments? Absolutely. But as a non-shooter and someone who was not an amazing decision maker as a point guard, he did not make sense as a fit a lot of times out there for the Nuggets. Again, that doesn't mean he didn't have great moments, because he did have amazing moments, especially in the playoffs. But big picture, it is tough to make Russ make sense on the court if he is not a shooting threat and if he's going to be playing a bit off the ball, right? So no longer having Russ here on the team does make things a bit easier to figure out. On top of that, they have much more depth on the bench. There is Tim Hardaway Jr., who was nearly 37% from three last year. There's also Bruce Brown, who is back on the roster, and he was a massive piece to their championship win back in 2023. There's also Jonas Valanciunas, which was one of my favorite offseason pickups. He is going to be huge as a backup center for Jokic, which really isn't something the Nuggets have had a ton over the last couple of years, is depth at that center position. There are guys who are already on the team, like Julian Strawther, who put up 9 points last year, and also Peyton Watson. I like the depth, and I think the depth makes sense from a basketball standpoint as well. Again, some of the issues you had last year were because Russ was not the best fit. I think now their bench makes a lot more sense than it did last year. And again, one more time, I am not trying to down Russ. Russ is an amazing player, but the flaw with Russ is if he is not ball dominant, right, and if he's asked to play off the ball, he is not as valuable, and that was something the Nuggets needed from him last year, and he wasn't able to consistently deliver that. Then the Cam Johnson pickup was another massive offseason pickup, and the Nuggets head coach David Alderman has been raving about what Cam Johnson brings to the table for this team. He is essentially a cheaper version of MPJ. Now, that's just because of contract stuff. I'm not saying he is a lower version of MPJ as a player. I think he can do a lot of the stuff MPJ does, and some of which he can do better. One thing Alderman was talking about the other day in an interview after a preseason game was what he can do with the second unit and how he can act as a playmaker and offensive orchestrator at times. So he is very versatile on offense for that reason. He's not just a guy who can sit on the perimeter and catch and shoot. Of course, he can do that at a high level, but you can do other things with him on offense and have him act as a primary ball handler with the second unit. I am excited to see Denver do that this upcoming season. Maybe there's a bit more he can bring to the table defensively as well. And he is also a seasoned, experienced player, right? He got to the NBA Finals back in 2021 with that Phoenix Suns team very early in his career. So again, Cam Johnson is great because he can do a lot of the stuff MPJ does, a few things at a higher level and also at a bit of a cheaper price. And he is more willing to play a role player sort of role for Denver than MPJ. I think MPJ reached a point in his career where he wanted a bit more, where he wanted a larger role. I do think he has all-star level upside, so I'm not mad at him no longer being here. A lot of things come down to fit, and I think Cam Johnson is just a better fit for this team and does have a little bit more upside than MPJ as far as what he can bring to Denver. And then it never hurts to have the best player in the world on your team, right? Jokic last year, I think, was the best we've ever seen him be from an individual standpoint. The man averaged a triple-double as a center, right? And I feel like right now we're like numb to these triple-double averages on the season because of Russ. Again, shout out to Russ for doing that and making that a thing that's possible to happen in the modern NBA era. But we kind of got a little numb to it after he did it so many times. And we almost ignored the fact that Jokic did it last year on ridiculous shooting splits, right? I don't care what you say. Last season's version of Jokic was the best version of Jokic we have ever seen, right? So right now we are still in the prime of Nikola Jokic's career. Having him here with these other options and a deeper bench, especially a backup center, is going to be absolutely huge and is only going to optimize what he does as an individual. I think he's going to be right back in the MVP combo as he's always been over the last 5 or so seasons. I think he is my favorite right now to win the MVP award because of, for one, again, he's amazing individually, but I think the team's success will match up much more this season relative to last year. So depth, Cam Johnson and Nikola Jokic. For those reasons, I am very confident in what Denver can do this season. And again, that is why they're my favorite to win the West and get to the NBA Finals and really win it all. And lastly, I do think this is a year where I am confident that the West is going to win a championship, right? I think the West is stronger. I think if you can make it out of the West, you are the NBA champion. Right now, the East is very thin. Boston isn't in the mix. And even if Tatum does come back, you do wonder if you get this version of Tatum that comes back late in the season, how conditioned is he going to be, right? And how good is Boston going to be at that point in time, right? Because if Tatum comes back and they're a play-in tournament team, you wonder about their true upside, right? Can you really work your way up from the play-in tournament and get to NBA contender status during the postseason, right? On top of that, the Pacers are no longer in the mix as contenders with Halliburton being out. So I think a team in the West is going to win a title again this year. The question is, which team is it going to be? And right now, again, obviously from this video, I am 100% confident that team is going to be Denver. Again, it's the depth, right? It's the addition of Cam Johnson, and it's also the fact that they have the best player in the world still playing at a prime level.